The 2023 NBA draft order is set, so we finally know where all the teams will be picking. And even though there isn't much of a surprise with who the first pick is going to be, there are lots of questions remaining throughout the rest of the draft. In today's video, it is Mock Draft 2.0, and I am running through all the picks to tell you where I think guys are going to go. What's going on, everybody? This is Troy. Welcome to the Half Court Report YouTube channel, and oh, I love draft time. It's like Christmas for me. I love the draft so much that if I get 500 likes on this video for my next draft video, which will be in, I don't know, maybe a week or so, I'm going to do all first round picks, all 30 picks. So make sure you drop a like on this video, 500 likes. Also, videos like this take a lot of research, a lot of editing, so make sure you show some love. And I would love if you subscribe to the channel while you're at it. All right, let's get started. First pick is going to go to the San Antonio Spurs, and no surprise, they are going to select Victor Wembanyama. Whether he's 7'4", 7'5", whatever, dude is huge, and he is the next big thing in the NBA. He led the French League in points, blocks, rebounds. He was also their MVP and their Defensive Player of the Year. Did I mention he's 7'5"? Oh yeah, and an 8-foot wingspan. This is a generational talent. 100% going to be the first overall pick. This is the type of player who can change the NBA and impact the game just by being on the floor. His game is so different, so transcendent. Injuries will be the only thing keeping Victor Wembanyama from being one of the greats. And that is a concern because there isn't a great track record for guys of his size playing a really long time in the NBA. We'll have to see what happens there, but could not be going to a better situation for him. And of course, for the Spurs, they're selecting him number 1. Pick number 2 is going to be made by the Charlotte Hornets. They are going with Scoot Henderson out of the G League Ignite. This is another high upside player. I think he would maybe go number 1 in another draft that didn't have Wemby in it, but Scoot is a super athlete. He can score, he can get his teammates involved, but he is working on that a little bit more. He's a really strong guard. He brings a winning mindset to the game whenever he plays. The questions that still remain about Scoot: the ability for him to get his teammates involved all the time like a true point guard should, and the defensive intensity that he displays. He needs to do both of those things all the time and more consistently. But I do like this pick for Charlotte. Would be a super exciting backcourt with LaMelo. And of course, you know, you always hear about LaMelo wanting to go to a different team, wanting greener pastures. I also see Scoot as LaMelo insurance if indeed LaMelo demands a trade or he wants to bolt somewhere else. Pick number 3 going to be made by the Portland Trailblazers. They are going with Brandon Miller from the University of Alabama. Could we see a trade with this pick? I think maybe so, because the scuttlebutt is that Portland, they want to win now. They don't want another young guy to bring in. Dame is getting older. Dame wants veteran players. So will this pick be packaged for another collection of players? Could be. But regardless, I think Brandon Miller would be a great pickup for the Blazers. He's got great size for that small forward spot. Really good shooter. 3-level scoring potential. He's pretty skinny, so the question is, you know, how much weight is he going to be able to put on, and how much is he going to be able to score against those stronger guys in the NBA? But you draft Brandon Miller with the hope that he'll turn into somebody like Paul George or Brandon Ingram, because he does have that potential. And say the Blazers end up going full rebuild mode, I like the idea of Brandon Miller with players like Anthony Simons and Shaedon Sharpe. That's a good core to start with. Pick number 4 going to be made by the Houston Rockets, and they are going with Thompson out of Overtime Elite. This is one of the Thompson twins. We'll see the other here in a few more picks, but he is an incredible athlete. Best one in the draft, I think. And he's really big for a lead guard. He's like 6'7". So really athletic, really smart player, gets out in transition, super playmaker. Biggest concern with him is his shooting. That'll determine whether he's an all-NBA player or just a really athletic role player. But the athleticism with him and Jalen Green would be crazy fun to watch for the Houston Rockets. Pick number 5 going to be made by the Detroit Pistons, and Detroit basketball is going to select Jarris Walker. Way to think of this guy as like a super big wing. He's strong, he's sturdy, NBA body already, can guard any position really. He's 6'9" with a 7'2" wingspan, so you draft him to be a supersized 3-and-D wing player who can also score inside and also play make a little bit too. I'll go on record here, I'm not a huge fan of this guy's game, and I think he has high bust potential. Guess we're just gonna have to see. Pick number 6, gonna be made by the Orlando Magic, and they are selecting Anthony Black, University of Arkansas. I really like this guy's game. He processes the game of basketball at a really high level. He makes the game easier for his teammates, and he is probably my favorite wing in this entire draft. He can score, he can pass, he can rebound, he can defend. The type of guy who's really going to impact winning. I see him as a Magic type of player who will be a good connective piece with their stars in Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. Pick number 7, going to be made by the Indiana Pacers. They are going with Taylor Hendricks. What is this, a University of Central Florida in the first round and even in the top 10 picks? But Taylor is good. He's long and rangy, high upside player. He can hit that three, he can rebound well, he's a lob threat, he runs the floor well, tries hard in defense. He's the type of player that a team is going to want in terms of a big man who can conceivably do it all. I like him in the front court as a starter along with Miles Turner, and I think that Tyrese Halliburton could help bring the best out of Taylor Hendricks. Pick number 8, going to be made by the Washington Wizards. And hey, I promised you another Thompson twin, and here we go. Ausar Thompson. Not sure who's older, but I do know which one is getting picked second. But he is very similar to his twin brother, except he can't create his own shot as well, but also an amazing athlete, lockdown defender, pushes the ball in transition, pretty good around the basket, just needs to get better as a shooter, like his brother, develop a more reliable jumper, like his brother. But the Wizards need help at guard, and I think he would be good whether they keep Brad Beal, they can start together, or they trade Brad Beal away, and Ausar Thompson can be a new building block for the Wizards. Pick number 9 going to be made by the Utah Jazz. They are selecting Cam Whitmore. Really high upside player is Cam from Villanova. One of the younger players in this draft, so teams love that. But this guy has speed, he has power, he has athleticism. That's what you're going to get with him, and he can guard multiple positions. One of those players who oozes with potential, as they say. It's just a matter of, can he put it all together? Can he figure everything out? But maybe another long-term piece to put with Lauri Markkanen and Walker Kessler for the Jazz. Pick number 10, going to be made by the Dallas Mavericks. They are going with Cason Wallace, University of Kentucky, high-level defensive guard. He's a solid shooter with good mechanics. I think a pretty safe pick this far down in the lottery. And lots of times, these Kentucky players tend to perform a lot better when they get into the NBA than they did in college. We saw it with guys like Tyrese Halliburton, Devin Booker, Tyler Hero. So maybe he will have a type of career trajectory like those guys. And I think Dallas saw how successful they were with a guard like Jalen Brunson playing with Luka. So maybe they can recreate that with Cason Wallace. Pick number 11, going to be made by the Orlando Magic. They have 2 picks in the lottery due to their trade with the Bulls a couple seasons ago. They are going with Gradey Dick for their pick here. What a shooter Gradey Dick is. 6'8", 3-point shooting specialist, decent passer. I've heard lots of questions regarding his defense. I think maybe overblown a little bit to an extent. He's not going to be winning any all-defense awards, but he's not a sieve on defense either. It'll be important that he goes to a team that has some defenders where you can hide him on defense a little bit. And I think if a guy like Wendell Carter's on the team, Wagner is on the team, Markelle Fultz, all those guys, decent defenders. But Orlando, they need a lot of shooting, and I think this is a good spot for Gradey Dick. Pick number 12, Oklahoma City Thunder. They are going with Derek Lively. This guy is shooting up draft boards. He might not even make it to pick number 12 by the time I do my next mock. But he is a huge dude, 7'1". He's a rim runner. He blocks shots. Long player with tons of defensive upside. Stats from his year at Duke don't jump off the page, as you can see right there on the screen, but he was great in high school. ESPN had him as the #1 ranked player. So maybe you have him be your backup big for a couple years, then maybe he develops into a Mitchell Robinson or Tyson Chandler type of player. But just the thought of Derek Lively and Chet Holmgren playing on the floor together for Oklahoma City, that should be illegal because who is going to be scoring on that? Pick number 13, going to be made by the Toronto Raptors, and they are going with Leonard Miller. He also played in the G League along with Scoot Henderson, and hey, he's Canadian, that's always a plus, but he came to the game late. He's still getting used to his 6'10 body and his 7'2 wingspan, but he was on the draft radar this time last year, ended up pulling out of the draft, and this year he's shown so much improvement over the course of a year, and he's still getting better, which is the crazy thing. But he's got a high motor, he's a high-level rebounder, he is still learning the game, as I mentioned, but he checks a lot of boxes for what you want in a prospect, and Raptors need big man, and they're good at developing guys too, as long as you're not Bruno Caboclo. So I'm going with Leonard Miller for this pick. Pick number 14, going to be made by the New Orleans Pelicans, and they are going with Kobe Buffkin, University of Michigan guard. Really came on strong toward the end of the year at Michigan. He is a fast rising player of draft boards, similar to Derek Lively, but he's a self-creator. He is a backcourt scoring option. Needs to put all this together and be more consistent like a lot of the guys in this draft, but he could end up being a steal this late in the lottery. But he's another solid guy to bring off the bench and add to that young Pelicans group. So there we have it, Mock Draft 2.0. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like, because if I get 500 likes on this video, my next mock draft will be the entire first round, all 30 picks. So if you want to see that, make sure you drop a like. And also hit the subscribe button while you're here. Make sure you never miss any of my draft content or any of my NBA videos. So show some love to the channel, show some love to the NBA draft, and show some love to me. And I will see you next time on the Half Court Report.